Thanks for tuning into Scalebound Games. This week we're taking on a viewer request on homebrewing a world or adventure in your tabletop RPG of choice. Many people find it easy getting bogged down in months or years of world building and then struggle to get that world to the table. Why is that? How do you prevent it? And when do you know that you've written enough to get playing? But hey, before we get started, we are a growing YouTube channel. Every like, comment, and subscribe helps us break free from the algorithm and find more friends to play games with. Anyways, like anything RPG related, there are a number of schools of thought on how much you should prep before you start running a game. And none of them are expressly wrong, but some of them will take a lot more time and effort from you than you'll get satisfaction back from. At least in my opinion. The golden rule to remember is that if your players never experience it, it doesn't exist, no matter how much you care about it. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though. Just like anything else, you'll get a lot more out of the time you spend writing if you go in with a plan. This doesn't have to be intricate, and I don't even personally like writing it down, though you totally can. Instead, I just kick ideas around in my brain until something cool sticks. This idea can be very specific, like the players must close the barrier between our world and the infernal plane because the trickster devil Halagosh is going to break through. Or something vague, like the local mine's been haunted and needs to be cleared out. It helps to know the scope of your adventure too. Are you writing a one-shot? Will this be an arc of a campaign? Or are you setting out to build a whole world that your players will spend a year or more in? If it's shorter, you can set aside ideas like a Lord of the Ringsian trek across the whole world to destroy an artifact. You're just going to have to cut or handwave too much of the travel that would normally make it feel real to your players anyway. And the opposite can be true too. Are you planning a year-long campaign? You'll probably need a lot more to go off of than the well is poisoned to get the ball rolling. You should also consider the themes you want to explore in your adventure. Is this a whimsical, high magic campaign where you interact with bored fairies who are kidnapping villagers for their own entertainment? Or a gritty, grueling survival slog where every ration matters and no one trusts anyone else? These can really impact how the players design their characters, and even let some players know if the table's gonna be a good fit for them or not. Some people just play games to goof around, so letting them know early that it's a serious and dangerous campaign with a lot of thought in every move will give them the chance to kindly opt out if they think it won't be their thing. Next, you want a general idea of what the players' motivations will be. This will shape a lot of things for them, like what kind of characters they're even going to play, and give you a better idea of what sort of factions or NPCs there should be to advance or thwart their plans. If they're going to clear out a haunted mine like we were talking about earlier, who owns that mine? What's in it for the players to get it going again? Is their hometown faltering economically because of the closure? Or are they out-of-towners looking to get a stake in this mine when it reopens? All of these will impact the future of the story. It's okay to have these conversations with your players if you're not totally sure what would be the most fun story for them. Maybe a quick group text or Discord call would help align everyone on a common direction, making your prep easier. It doesn't have to be a full session 0. Video on what those are coming up soon. Just a fast conversation to get everyone on the same page. The answers you just covered may end up impacting the way that certain races or classes interact with the world too. Maybe elves used too much magic and poisoned the elemental plane and now are in hiding. A player can play one, but will need to keep their long ears hidden lest they draw unwanted attention. Or maybe clerics are pushed underground as a revolt against the gods because of an unjust divine action. Communicate this stuff to your players before they make their characters though. Nothing is more frustrating than spending a few hours coming up with something, only to be told that you're being punished for picking it before you even get to the table. Okay, what's next? Well, we need a setting for the adventure to take place in. Again, the amount of time you spend on this should be proportional to how long your players will be there. If they have only a few hours in a place, you really just need a couple of NPCs, a shop, maybe a tavern. But if you're fleshing out an urban crawl where your players will never leave the gates of the city for a year or more, you probably want to put some serious time into the demography of the city, its layout, the factions within it, who the major NPCs are in each of those factions. Even if you go this route though, don't worry about getting too deep into the mechanics of every little detail. Remember that golden rule we talked about earlier. If your players never meet the characters you create, then they don't matter. I'll talk more in a bit about NPCs and factions, but let's round out the town first. You'll want a place for adventurers to buy and sell loot, a general store, an armorer, a fortune teller. All of these are great places to advance their abilities or motivations, or drop story threads for them, while giving them a chance to burn off some of the money that they've earned. You'll also need a place for rumors to swirl and patrons to rest. Usually this is a tavern, and you don't have to overwork yourself and make it too complicated. It's okay to rely on those tropes. Lastly, if religion plays a big role in your game, make a church or a temple or two for your players to interact with. They can be great places to hide magic items, advance your world building by showing off religious rituals, and allow your players to explore the way they interact with the god or gods in the world. But for now, let's go back to the factions and NPCs. Remember, the idea here is that we're not over-preparing, but there does need to be like a leader or an organizer of some sort, and a communicator or mouthpiece is important too. Think about how this will vary based on how public the faction is. The communicator may be a press secretary, or like a spokesman if the organization is governmental and bureaucratic, but it may be a sole messenger appearing in the dark if it's for a guild of assassins or thieves. Finally, someone closer to the player's level of influence in the world, with motivations that somehow twist in with theirs, can really help kickstart their attachment to a group. Finding a fledgling adventurer in the Fighters Guild who has maybe sworn to find an artifact that your players are secretly trying to destroy can cause some interesting friction between everyone, and give them a reason to interact with that character. You'll also want the person who gave them the quest for them to interact with. They don't meet them like in another locale before. Give them a chance to probe this quest giver for their motivations, try to increase their reward, or find out where others have come before them to try this quest too. Thinking through these questions in particular can really plant the seeds for you to quickly flesh out a lot of detail that your characters are highly likely to interact with. They're on this quest, they have a vested interest in how it's been handled and why they should care about it. Remember, your hands are on the throttle of this adventure. If you want to raise the stakes, you could say that another party left a few days before and lost communication with the quest giver. Or that the quest giver had heard the government sending a team in to retrieve the same artifact that your players are going after. This can lead to interesting time pressures or raised tension of running into rivals. Unless you're an experienced GM in running urban crawls, I'd also plan out one stop outside of the starting area where your players may go next. Unless the adventure is a short, single session type thing, don't force them here on the first session if they don't want to go, but prepare for the possibility that it might be a while before you get there. You still want some thought into what it might be though, so you're not stuck totally making it up on the fly. If your players are anything like mine, they'll spend most of the first session just grilling every NPC they meet for details about the world, asking for more equipment, so, don't stress yourself out too much. That's really all you need for your first session, to be honest. Even if you're planning a long, overarching campaign, you don't want to go too far out in advance. A full campaign in Highwinds, for example, can last years, so you don't want to throw everything at your players in the first session. You can save your big bad evil guy until later. It's okay if they're just a vague idea, or maybe not even introduced at all in session 1. You can let how your players react to the world impact how you shape that character even. If you have an explorer who takes a strong liking to befriending animals on early travels, have the big bad start corrupting the wildlife. Or if you have a zealous druid, you can have the big bad start tinkering with the balance of elements in the world, tipping the alignment of the world out of whack and causing wild weather and plant growth. You don't have to start laying these seeds immediately. Give the players a chance to show you what they're passionate about, and then you just play off those passions. It's really not that complicated. Some other things that it can be helpful to think about are if you have magic users or god worshippers in your world, how does the magic work? Do the gods interact with people directly, or are they observed solely through faith? What are worship rituals like? Do the religious wear a certain garb? Are there pushback against religions in this world? These answers will shape how you handle interactions with the players who play holy classes, like, for example, our Moon Mage. Finally, one thing I like to do is make the economy feel special in my games. For example, I'm working on a Daggerheart campaign right now where there is no more metal currency. Everyone trades glass ampules of clean water because society is in decline. Revamping a whole economy like this can be intimidating, so if it's your first game, maybe set this one aside. But at least think of some kind of quirk about where your players are that makes an alternative to just picking up and handing over shiny discs of metal. Maybe there's a local medicinal herb that's not worth much where they are now, but would be if it was taken to a research base and propagated, or a capital that doesn't have access to it. Or maybe someone's developing a new technology here, and that tech can be invested in by the players in exchange for early rights to accessing it before everyone else. Something that incentivizes them to get into the world and interact with characters and the environment instead of cash registers and coin purses goes a long way to making the world more believable. And I really think that's about it. So let's recap. You'll need the following things to get started on an adventure. A concept, for sure, the main thing that needs to be solved in the world, The scope of the adventure. Is this a one-shot, a full campaign, something in between? The themes, for sure. Special mechanics or race class expectations that will change how the players play the game. The motivation for your players. Where they'll start and who they can meet there. How their magic or religion impacts the world. And finally, what the economy is like, so they can choose where to focus their loot goblin efforts. I know, it's tempting to world build an entire planet and all of its geography and history, and that's something you absolutely can and should build as you go, but the longer you're in the world, the more of it'll get explored, and peeling back those layers can be fun. You learn with your players instead of just feeding it to them. Don't stop a potentially good idea in the future from letting you explore a great idea that you have now. It's okay to let go of your expectations, put down your pen, and just play. Maybe you realize early on that you don't like how two factions interact, and so you just scrap or rewrite them anyway. It's better to do that after like 10 hours of prep than 10 weeks, I hope this gets you started on building your first or 5th or 20th adventure. We're working on releasing our playtest soon, and we'd love to see what kind of stories you tell in our world of Astra. Follow our Highwinds Kickstarter at the link below, and keep an eye here coming up soon for a video on how to play our game.